Hello everyone, I'm Brian, and welcome back. So I'll rewind it just a little bit, and let's go ahead and get started.
And they have a very deep, private, inner spiritual life. So outside might seem very austere and forbidding and very severely philosophical, and inside full of devotion and love, not expressed. So, harmony of the four yogas. There's more to be said. So many of these things which I'm saying here, I claim no originality to this analysis. I'm firmly basing myself as just like a commentary on the works of older masters. So what I'm saying here mostly comes from the writings of Swami Bhajananandaji, who is a very senior monk of our order, a very luminous mind, a very deep thinker. So right now what I was talking about, he wrote an article called The Yogas and Their Synthesis. It's in Prabuddha Bharata. And he talks about why it is necessary to harmonize the four yogas. How do you harmonize the four yogas? And he, for example, I'll give you quickly within a couple of sentences what he says. He talks about vertical synthesis. Now, what is this vertical synthesis? Vertical synthesis is one above the other. Just like we said, Shankaracharya or Advaita Vedanta says first karma, then bhakti and yoga, and then jnana. This is vertical synthesis. Ramanuja says first karma, then jnana, then bhakti, vertical synthesis. Or it could be a horizontal synthesis, he says. He says that's what most people do. And if you look at the life of a devotee or a Ramakrishna mission monk, so you get up early in the morning and meditate, and then you go and study, and then you go to work and serve humanity, and come back in the evening and attend arati and worship and spend some time in meditation. Throughout the day, there are some meditative activities, there are some philosophical study activities, there is something that you do to serve humanity, and there is devotion and ritual. The only problem with this is it's not integrated, and you will always feel a kind of a conflict of time and energy. Too much work, I can't meditate. Too much meditation, you're selfish, not doing enough for others. So this problem may be there. He talks about collective synthesis. This is based on Swami Vivekananda. We may not be perfect in each method, in each way, but in an ashram, in a household, in a community, there may be different mentalities, different personalities. Some may be meditative more, and some may be devoted to service. Some may be very studious and philosophical in their approach. Some may be ritualistic worshippers. This is literally true of what I saw in Belur Math. Great pujari, day and night chanting hymns, and even when he's year after year worshipping in the temple of Sri Ramakrishna, even when he's given a break, go and relax. He's an old monk. He goes on a pilgrimage in the railway, in the train, and sitting in the train, he starts the worship. He has got his own little image and little worship toolkit, and he spreads it out before his. It becomes natural for him. I have seen Swamis day and night working for the welfare of the poor. Day and night. Hard work. I have seen Swamis who are so austere and engaged in Vedantic study. One Swami, I remember, Swami Shikshanandaji, our teachers, when we were novices, they told, Shikshanandaji literally means delight in Siksha means education or knowledge. And teaching. Of course, for Vedic scholars, immediately they'll object, because here the word Shiksha comes from a Vedic usage, which means the art of pronouncing Vedic mantras. Anyway, so this Swami, he was always engaged in Vedantic study. So our teachers at the training center when we were brahmacharis, they said, go and see the Swami. What does it mean by studying? You only flip pages. You're flipping pages. You say you're reading books. No. Go and see the Swami. And so whenever we visited him, all the time, without fail, he'd be sitting in his easy, like an armchair, and he would have the commentary of Shankaracharya open before him, which he had studied for 75 years or more. It's not that he did not know every word in that book, but it's not that he's reading it to read new things and finish off books one after another. It's to keep his mind there in that knowledge. He'd always be studying, reading like this. And if you bow down to him, he'll note, and then back. So collective synthesis. In the same, it can be in an ashram, it can be in a household. Where a father, mother, children, they can have their own different approaches to spiritual life. So these are the different ways in which one can harmonize the four yogas. Swami Vivekananda himself was asked, how shall we harmonize the four yogas? And Swami Vivekananda's answer was, live with one who has harmonized the four yogas. I guess that's the right exact answer. If you see such a person in action, it's not an artificial way of planning out a routine. This is my Jnana Yoga time. This is my Bhakti Yoga time. This is not that way. It is a natural synthesis where it will be very difficult to distinguish, is this person being a devotee or a jnani or a karmi? If you look closely at a great spiritual master, they seem to be all. The harmony of four yogas. So this is one place where Swami Vivekananda says has something new to give. I've run out of time. I'll quickly mention two more areas and then conclude. Another area is Swami Vivekananda's theory of ethics, of morality. The question here is, what is right and what is wrong? What should we do and what should we not do? This is the classic question of ethics. And the deeper question is, why should we be good? First of all, what is good and what is bad? And even deeper than this, why should we be good? What is good and what is bad is the realm of ethics, or what they call normative ethics. And the technical term for the second question, why should I be good at all, is called meta-ethics. You ask a question about ethics itself. Big area. There are volumes and volumes being written even till today. There are Oxford handbooks and Rutledge handbooks and all on ethics. It's a huge issue. I was lucky and privileged to be allowed to attend a class by Professor Amartya Sen at Harvard University. He is a professor of both philosophy and economics at Harvard. So he was teaching a course on ethics. So I was able to attend that class. And all these classic questions, they come up. And see how much effort is being put into it by the finest minds of our civilization, trying to come to an answer about this. What is so difficult? The difficult thing is, how do you decide what is right and wrong? Not only for a person, but for a community, for a country, for a government, for the international community. One way could be by consequence, utilitarian ethics. That which maximizes happiness is good. That which reduces happiness or increases sorrow is bad. Immediately one might say, no, but by maximizing my happiness, I might contribute to sorrow all around me. So that can be modified, maximizes the happiness of the entire community. That which maximizes the happiness and satisfaction of the entire community and reduces misery, that is good. And these are not just theoretical things. These are absolutely important for public policy. Taxation. Why does every country tax the rich more than the poor? Because for a rich person to give up $1,000, the amount, by giving up that money, that person loses some amount of happiness. But the amount of happiness that a multimillionaire or billionaire loses by giving up $1,000 in tax money, that $1,000 spent for very poor people, the amount of happiness they get from it by getting the essentials of life through government action is much more than the loss of one billionaire in a little bit of happiness the person loses. So it makes sense to tax the rich more than the poor. So these are issues which are of great public consequence, economic consequence.
But of course, it makes sense, obviously. There's a bracket of taxation. But again, you have to be careful of how much. That is the dangerous thing. And and the problem with the government, again, this is all governments, really. They always have good intent, and I do believe that to be initially. That's much like any human being, but it's the fact that the government doesn't necessarily have to work for the money. Whether the government does something good or bad, it doesn't affect how much money they make. The only thing that affects how much money they make is what's the percentage tax they charge people and how many people's working. Whereas if a company does something bad, it can affect how much money they make. So they have to make sure that they're doing something good and hide the bad things if they do something bad.
Utilitarian. Well, that seems fine. Then why at all bother? You just follow this. Well, not so easy. Not so easy. So one classic question that would be asked in class would be that, so maximizing happiness is the goal. Yes. Suppose you have a terrorist, you've got a terrorist who has planted a bomb, and you want him to say where is the bomb. The terrorist is a hardened fellow, he refuses to confess. Would you torture him? So many people, they raise their hands, yeah, because it will save the life. See, if he confesses, it will save the lives of 50 people or 100 people.
Is this for the greater good type of argument? Sacrificing the few to save the many, or sacrificing one, or in the case torturing the terrorists in order to save the many?
Yes, maybe we have to talk. Some people, many people are not, many people are unsure. Then the professor will say, he will tighten the screw. He will say,
someone you love.
Even after torturing, the person does not confess. Oh. He's very hardened. He has a little 5-year-old daughter. Will you torture that daughter in front of the father to make the father confess?
No. You I will say that's kind of terrible, but I would say no. You don't involve other people. That you don't blame other people for the consequences of an individual person. You don't blame the daughter for something that the father's done. You don't blame the things that are done in the past with the presence of people and the people in the present. So again, kind of like a lot of colonization in the past. That was the norm back in the day. Every civilization, in a sense, was doing it. Some more successful than others. Some well documented, while others not. But those are things in the past that was accepted in the past, and it was the ways of the past. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's just the way it was. And now look at the way it is now. We have to work with what we have now, and we can't blame, what your great grandfather has done, or great grandmother has done to whoever else, and then you're blaming, you're to blame. You have to get punished for that. That's not right.
So many people who had raised their hands put their hands down. 50 people will die, 100 people will die. Will you torture one little child? Logically, yes, but it doesn't seem right at all.
Logically,
it seems awful.
No, how's that logical?
Yes. They used to war game this Rand, war game this nuclear warfare. Computers and human beings, there would be like committees to decide whether to launch nuclear strike. USA should it launch a nuclear strike on the erstwhile Soviet Union? And they found at the verge of the decision making about to launch a nuclear strike, which will wipe out all of humanity, human decision makers always hesitated. Computers never hesitated. They did exactly what was rational. Next step, wipe out humanity. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course. They don't care.
Because utilitarian ethics. Something will serve that. If you can make the logic so, you have to follow it then. No, that does not seem right. Then what is the alternative? Deontological ethics. And deontological ethics is a fancy name. It just means law, or my religion says so. My religion says you will not fight in a war. So right, wrong, whatever it is, I will not fight. My religion says this. So the problem with that will be, suppose I don't believe in that religion then. Each religion has different things which it prescribes. Or the law of the land says it. The law of the land says you must do this, you must not do that. It's not a question of what is the consequence. It's the law is that. So it depends on the kind of person. You're crossing the road, the light is not changed yet, but there's nobody around. So in India, you'll just walk across. And I've heard, I've not been there. In Germany, never. Why? There's no problem at all. It is the rule. You stand there until the light changes. Even in this heavy snow, you'll stand there and cross. That is a deontological ethics. This is utilitarian ethics. What is the effect of it? What is Swami Vivekananda's answer to this whole quandary? This Vedantic ethics. Swami Bhajananji has written a beautiful 20-page article on this. I gave a talk about 14, 15 years ago at the University of Calcutta to a group of professors. It was the last talk of the day. And I gave a talk on this article by Swami Bhajananji on the ethics, theory of ethics of Swami Vivekananda. They liked it so much, they wanted photocopies of that article. I still remember The photocopier section was closed and the guy wanted to go home. It was 5 o'clock. But they held him up there and until everybody got a copy of that article. It's called Swami Vivekananda's Ontological Ethics. So what is ontological? Ontos is the word for being, existence, reality. Based on the reality of the Atman, ethics. Swami Vivekananda says, why be ethical? Question, why should I be ethical? It's because we are one reality. By hurting the other person, you're hurting yourself. It follows from the divinity of the soul, the divinity within us, and the oneness of all existence. Ethics follows from that. Not because of consequence, not because somebody imposed it, not because this book says so, not because the law of the land says so. It is your very nature to be ethical. Being ethical, being moral is an expression of your deepest nature. It is an expression of the nature of the Atman, of yourself. Theory of evil. Why is there suffering and evil in the world? This is part of ethics. Did Satan do it? Is another power, evil power? Or in Indian religions, it was karma. It's our accumulated karma which is causing all this evil in the world. In Christian theology, it is the wrong use of free will. God has given us free will and we misuse it and therefore there is evil in the world. Swami Vivekananda says, from a Vedantic perspective, it is ignorance which is the cause of evil. It is not sin. Another theory is that original sin is the cause of evil. Swami Vivekananda said, no, it is not sin, not even karma. Ultimately, the cause of evil is the ignorance of the real nature of the self. This theory of ethics, what does it lead to? This is from freedom. Ethics comes from freedom. We are free of the lower self. We are the existence, consciousness, bliss right now. The so-called body-mind self is an appearance. So this evil, this lack of ethics is because of holding on to what is an appearance. It's not true. We are free of it. An expression of our freedom is ethics. It's not something imposed from outside. How do we know? The question, what is right, what is wrong, how will we find out? Vivekananda gives wonderful methods to determine. He says, that which is unselfish is moral. That which is selfish is immoral. One way of testing. That which unifies is moral. That which divides is immoral. Another way of testing. And notice how it is all connected to the oneness of all existence. Why unselfishness? Because we are one. Why unity? Because we are all one. Ultimately. And this unity itself, unity of all existence itself is manifested as love. Ethics is grounded in love. Another consequence of Swami Vivekananda's ethics is service. Love must be expressed in service to others. How do you express ethics? In service to others, those who need it. Another consequence, equality. We are all equal. Not because of this revolution or that for political philosopher. Not because of the brotherhood or sisterhood. Deeper than brotherhood and sisterhood. Deeper than communism and capitalism. Deeper than even physics and biology is the oneness of all existence, is that one existence, consciousness, bliss in all beings. Swami Vivekananda says, from the Nazarene to the worm, to yonder worm, is one divinity shining through all. And therefore we are all equal. All this fight for racial equality, gender equality, it comes because we are struggling at the level of the body to establish equality. At the deepest level, there already is equality, there is oneness. And yet Swami Vivekananda does not erase difference. He enjoys difference. There is difference. There are differences of gender, there are differences of religion and of race. And it's all wonderful. Then if oneness is the reality, then all this difference is an appearance. What do you do at the level of appearance? You cannot erase difference here and you should not. So the answer is harmony.
Interesting. This is what I've said some times ago about, how identities and all that. It's like it doesn't really matter. It shouldn't really matter. And I forget the exact quote that I quoted myself in, but essentially it's just the fact that your identities and stuff is fine. Don't use it as a weapon. That's the problem. So being what I like, or what I look like, what my hair color is, what my how many fingers I have, you know, what favorite color, favorite music, favorite movie, favorite TV show. All these are, in some sense, identities of me. Well, it is an identity of me. My favorite movie is an identity of me. My favorite TV show is an identity of me. But I should not use those identities as weapons. Much like how I say these identities are tools, and it's how you use them. You can use these tools to make friends, to grow a community, to have a group of friends that you're so close with that you hang out every weekend to talk about your favorite hobbies and things to do. Then there are some people who will use these identities or these tools as weapons, as a way of separating, dividing, hating, causing harm to other people. This is the thing that I've been pushing for a little bit too. And again, I love the fact that Swami Vivekananda does not ignore the fact of the transactional reality, or as I call it, the objective reality, is the fact that we have to acknowledge that this world exists, and we have to make changes in this world. And that isn't, and I'm not saying that you ignore the absolute reality or ignore your Atma and your true self or anything like that. You must recognize that as well. I don't know how to describe it, but I was trying to include the dream in here. The dream we can see as false, but yet maybe perhaps this objective reality is false relative to the absolute reality. Again, the three stages: your dream state, the reality we're living now, and then the absolute reality. So the dream state is just a dream of the object reality, and then object reality might be a dream state of the absolute reality. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to link all that. But it's just the sheer fact that I think it can be quite dangerous if people think that this object transactional reality is false. In my opinion, it's not a great way to approach it. I think it's better to recognize this reality as real as the absolute reality as well. Again, and this kind of lines up with what I believe the absolute reality is, what Brahman is. Brahman is this atom or something that is that is in everything that exists. So if it exists, it's made out of Brahman. And this is one way of unity. It's a different way of looking at unity. We're all created from the same thing. Something Neil deGrasse Tyson has said, we're all created as stardust. We're part of space. We all came from the Big Bang. But yeah, you could say this is one way of unifying us, but a lot of people will struggle with that. We can even don't have to say we're all the same as the universe. We can just say we're all humans here. That at the very least is like start off something very simple, very close, then expand out. Again, like said Guru, how oh yeah, this is you, this is your body. You want to protect your body. Just expand that sensory out to everyone in the room, then everyone in the planet and the universe. And I think that's a great approach. Start off something really simple, very small. Just your people in your household, people in your city, people in your town, city, state, country, whatever, and work your way outwards. Try to, find a way to relate and not really be, violent, harmful, bad, using the tools as something evil. Just try to find a way to use those tools as something uniting. And I'm really going way off ball here, but again, how to use it like that is, again, the way with Advaita Vedanta is to find your true self and to separate yourself from your emotions. Really, I think a lot of people really do need to detach themselves from their body, not physically, but in terms of realizing that they're not the body, they're not the emotions. Even if you just say, just for simplicity's sake, that they're the mind, to a degree. There's something in the mind. They're not the whole mind, but they're this thing in the mind that is affected by everything that's going on around the mind. The emotions, everything external is affecting them. If they can realize the fact that all these emotions are just external influences into the body, and they can see that and separate it, it's a great start. Again, Just something very simple and working your way to more complex things. Not everyone can start off running. Not everyone will just read one page of Swami Vivekananda's book and say, I get it now, I'm enlightened. You have to start off simple and then start grasping larger and larger ideas.
Harmony, a very big word in Swami Vivekananda's lexicon. Harmony of religions, harmony of philosophies, harmony between science and religion, harmony between the nations, harmony between the genders today you will see, harmony between the races, harmony. Another consequence of Swami Vivekananda's ethics is strength. This is something you come across again and again and again. Anybody who came in contact with Vivekananda, the first effect was they were uplifted. Josephine MacLeod writes that when I met the Tsar of Russia, I felt how great he is and how insignificant I am. But when I met Vivekananda, I felt how great he is and how great I am. That was the effect, like a tonic. He would uplift even the most crushed spirits. So strength, physical strength, moral strength, emotional strength, intellectual strength, spiritual strength, above all. He says, so Vivekananda, he connects weakness to evil. Unethical life, evil, unhappiness, misery is connected to weakness because we are too weak to put our ideals into practice. So we must strengthen ourselves to live spirituality. And finally, ethics is the basis, the foundation of spirituality. Ethics itself is not the end of life. Ethics, moral, good life is the basis for spiritual life. To ultimate, the prize at the end of the road is infinity. Your own nature that is there only if we lead an ethical, moral life. So this is Swami Vivekananda's contribution to the field of ethics. Huge, huge thing. And it's still not appreciated. I was one takeaway from that course which I attended, Professor Amartya Sen's course, how many of those questions which were raised and wrestled over by some of the smartest minds. It's not just Professor Amartya Sen, but I saw a professor of mathematics whose books I have in my library is sitting next to me. He's there attending the class. I thought he looks familiar. Who is he? I've seen him in the back cover of a book which I possess. They're sitting there and wrestling with these questions. I'm not saying that there's an ultimate solution which is given by Vivekananda and everything's done, but it is really a path-breaking, fundamental contribution to the field of ethics, which Swami Vivekananda said. I'm sure in time it will become more developed. And finally, the harmony of religions. I will not speak more about it, but just touch upon the essentials. It all comes directly from from Sri Ramakrishna, from his Guru. How is all these yogas, multiple structures possible? By jnana we will get freedom, by bhakti you will get freedom. How is it possible? By all these paths you will reach the same goal. How is it possible? We are right here. The truth is one. The sages speak about it differently. Ekam sad vipra bahuda vadanti. This is from the Rig Veda. How is it possible to speak about it differently if the truth is one? Why not speak about it the same way? Why do different religions say different things? Here is what Swami Vivekananda brings from Sri Ramakrishna. That the ultimate reality is infinite. One. So Sri Ramakrishna's beautiful example of the ant which went to eat sugar, and he found a mountain of sugar and dragged a little bit of the sugar and looked back and saying, I'm going to take the whole mountain with me. He cannot, and he need not. That little bit of sugar is enough. So the infinite reality, you express, every religion, philosophy, enlightened person expresses just a little bit of it. Second, it cannot be expressed in language. But it must be expressed in language. So when you try to express the inexpressible in language, you do not give a complete account of it. It's an imperfect grasp on that reality. Avang manasa gochara, beyond conception, beyond language. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Brahman is the only thing in Bengali, he said, jeta eto haini. So eto is very difficult to translate into English, which has not been defiled by the tongue. So because it cannot be expressed in language and because it is infinite, therefore, multiple expressions are possible. It seems very simple, but it's a very big insight. That's where harmony of religions can be established. It makes it possible to have many religions without saying one must be true, others must be false. No. Then what happens? Suppose you have this infinite God beyond language. The purpose of human life is God realization. And the purpose of religion is to be a path to God realization. As Vivekananda made it very clear, that these religions are like different paths up the mountainside. Paths are different. One path is different from the other doesn't mean they are wrong. If both take you to the same goal, both are correct. Again, from Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna says, in different ways you can reach the roof of the house. The Brahmo devotees have come. Sri Ramakrishna says, look, some of you came by coach, some of you came by boat, some of you walked, but ultimately you all got here. In the same way, people of following different faiths will all reach the same divinity. This is how harmony is realized. Sri Ramakrishna's beautiful example of people going to the same the pond and calling it water and pani and jal, but they're talking about the same reality. Forms and formlessness, which Sister Nivedita said. Beautiful example, ice and water. By the coolness of the devotion, water freezes. The water, formless Brahman freezes as it were into the ice of different forms of gods and goddesses. When the sun of knowledge rises, it melts back into the same water. But whether, you don't have to melt it back. Whether you are worshipping in a form or whether you are worshipping formless, it's the same reality. One and the many are the same reality. What follows from this? That at the same time, one must have dedication to one's own path. This is called Ishta Nishtha. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Bhav nashta korte nahi. Do not disturb anybody's spiritual attitude. Somebody is built up. I have devotion to Krishna. Now don't come to this person and say, oh, but it is just a form. Ultimately it is formlessness and you must shift from Krishna to the formlessness. No, you don't have to do that. Respect the spiritual attitude of everybody and have your own spiritual attitude, but know all the time these are all different paths to the same realization. Therefore, Swami Vivekananda added, there is no need to convert. The big drive to convert from one religion to another, unnecessary. And we can, this is the religions of the world are not contradictory, they are complementary to each other. And because they are complementary to each other, we can all learn from each other. Just yesterday we had a wonderful talk by Professor Clooney from Harvard, and he has studied the Hindu classics and the Christian classics. He's a practicing Jesuit priest. Hindu classics and the Christian Catholic classics he's reading together, and his own spiritual life is benefited by this, and he shares it with others. And whatever anybody might say, the world that Swami Vivekananda envisaged is already here. You may agree or disagree. Neither God cares nor Vivekananda cares. The work has already been done. People are more or less like this now. Large numbers of people, especially ordinary people across the world. I'm not talking about theologians and professors. Ordinary people, they do agree that there are multiple paths to realization. They do agree that spirituality is a serious and important goal of life. They do agree that we can learn from different paths. Professor Clooney yesterday was saying that students at the Divinity School come and say, I really don't know who I am. I am born Christian, but I'm a little bit Buddhist also. And I'm a little bit this and a little bit that also. And definitely I'm a humanist also. And that is what Vivekananda envisaged. That is what has happened. So I've gone well over time, but the theme here was just an exploration of what is old and what is new in Swami Vivekananda. I hope by this time we have seen that these categories of old and new are interesting ways of looking at it, but they're not at all contradictory. Whatever Swami Vivekananda has done is firmly rooted in Advaita Vedanta. And yet there are implications, new ways of presentation, and new insights, and a new vision which has come through Swami Vivekananda. I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada and Swami Vivekananda to bless us all, this beautiful city, this country, the whole world, and the civilization to come yet. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Okay, so there wasn't really too much to say on this last one. It was all pretty much just listening to what he has to say, and I like the fact that Vivekananda, I like his path so far. Again, it's just very much open. It's not like, oh nope, it's a very narrow path, and there's only one way to get there. This is something I've noticed with Hinduism in general. I mean, Hinduism, if I remember correctly, there's just many paths to it. You know, Advaita Vedanta being one of them, Buddhism, and etc. Although Buddhism, obviously, I don't know if they accept others, but or they say that they welcome you regardless whether you're going to be a Buddhist or not. You know, they'll teach you their ways if you want. You'll listen to whatever you want and practice whatever you want. And if you want to continue to stay, you know, you can. Because I think honestly, it's good to find out what you like. To I guess to dip your hands in all the different kinds to find out what you like, find out what works best for you, and but I guess, you know, there are people out there who are running out of time, as they say. With the Prashant video, that one guy saying, you know, he's running out of time. You know, he's stressing out too much about it, and you know, you obviously you have, in a sense, a duty in this world to make sure that you're not a burden to anyone else. But at the same time, you know, you have to make sure you accomplish the goals that you set forward to yourself. You know, so this is I think he has an issue at balancing. I mean, most people do, at balancing time and whatever else they're trying to do, work, personal life, and etc. Anyway, there's a question that was asked of me, and that in the video. I'm going to answer it here, but I'm going to pause it real quick so I can get it, and then I'll answer it. Hold on. Okay, so well, I won't say it's a question, but it is a question. It says, Brian, do one thing when you see this. Do reply and explain what is nothing and existence, and according to you or your mind. So nothing is, I mean, without you asking anything else, you asked me to explain what is nothing and what is existence. Nothing is the opposite of existence. At simplest terms, that's what it is. Nothing is nothing, existence is existence. What is existence? Something that exists. What is nothing is literally nothing. I mean, that's to put it simply. I don't know how else to answer that, just because there's no other context other than the fact that you want me to explain what is nothing and existence, according to me in my mind. So, nothing is nothing, existence is existence. Existence can mean many things, like does this exist? Yes, it does. Does existence mean having a life? It goes a little bit to like subgenres of existence, but yeah, some people say, you know, having no life is not an existence that you'd like to live. But that's a subgenre of existence with living. But just in terms of existence alone, it must exist to exist, otherwise it's nothing. Nothing, one point, existence, other point. There is no in between. Either you do not exist, nothing, or you do exist, something. I guess that's pretty much it. Anyways, that's the end of this video. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.